Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'm going to be doing my season preview for the Haas F1 team. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the team, their off-track personnel, and then we're going to move in talking about some of the team's history, while it is quite short, admittedly, and then we're going to end up talking about their current driver lineup and talking about kind of the expectations for this season. So first, taking a look at the team and their off-track personnel. This is a team that's based in Kannapolis, USA, although they do have, several factories and bases all over the place. They have one in England, and they also have one that's kind of, set aside, part of, kind of inside Ferrari's factory as well. So they are kind of all over the place. They don't really have a true F1 factory, like most teams do. But that's kind of always been the model, the low budget model that the Haas team has run on. Owner, of course, Gene Haas, pretty well known in North America, of course, for the NASCAR team, as well as for the basically the big metalworking machines. Team principal Ayao Komatsu. This is his second year at the team. Of course, joined, he's been part of Haas for a long time, but became team principal at Haas last winter. I think he did a pretty good job in his first year on the job. Technical director Andrea Del Zoro, although not that big of a role given how many parts the team basically outsources from Dallara, Ferrari, etc. So not to minimize his role, but obviously for Haas, for a team that takes so many parts from different places, outsources so much of their work, it does of course have a little bit less of a role than it would at other teams. Engine, of course, Ferrari engine, the engine they've used since their inception in 2016. Now, moving on, taking a look at some of the results from last year. This was a team that finished 7th in the Constructors last year, 58 points, a massive improvement from the year before where they finished last. Their average pole gap 1.015 seconds, which is 6 overall. And I think pretty reasonable, for them one lap pace. Average minimum finishing position 9.38, and that ranked 6 as well. So I think the fact they were 6 in qualifying pace, 6 in race pace, I think they were very unlucky not to be able to get 6 in the constructors. But unfortunately, Alpine's great result at the Brazilian Grand Prix in that massive haul of points basically leapfrogged them past Haas for that position. But however, when we look at Haas's results last 5 years or so, they've definitely done much better the last 3 years, under these ground effect rules than they did 2020, 2021. 2021, obviously, they did absolutely no development work on the car. They had Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin driving. Definitely, I would say, downgrade from Magnussen and Grosjean. So I think that definitely hurt things as well. But you can see for the qualifying pace, it's actually been very, very, very consistent the last 3 years. It's always been about not lower midfield, I would say. The race pace though has been all over the place. 2022 was okay. 2023 was absolutely abysmal. As you can see, there's a massive gap between the red line and blue line for 2023, and then 2024 race pace was quite a bit better, and actually in some ways better than their qualifying pace. When you look at this team's history, very, very short as it is, this is their 10th team in operation, so they have only had 8 drivers drive for them. Magnussen, of course, leads the list in terms of Grand Prix, 145, second Grosjean, 96, third Hulkenberg, 46, fourth Schumacher, 43, and then tied for 5th are Gutierrez and Mazepin on 21, 7th Behrman on 2, and of course he's going to be driving for them this year, so that, of course, will go up quite a bit by the end of the season. And then, of course, 8th is Pietro Fittipaldi, the driver who stood in for those 2 races at the end of 2020 after Grosjean had his big accident. When you look at point scores for this team, Magnussen leads list there, no surprise, 140 points. Grosjean second, 104, third Hulkenberg 50, fourth Schumacher on 12, and then Behrman's already 5th on the list with just a single point that he scored at Azerbaijan last year. Gutierrez, Mazepin, Fittipaldi, no points for them driving for Haas. Now, when we look at their lineup for this year, it's pretty interesting lineup. Ocon, of course, comes over from Alpine, and of course they signed Behrman as a rookie. I do think Ocon is probably an upgrade on Magnussen. I do think comparing him to Hulkenberg, I think, is a little bit difficult, But that being said, I do think he's a pretty solid driver, and do I think that if he can drive for them for 3 to 4 years, I think he'd be a very steady pair of hands. Of course, with Ocon, the asterisk is always how will he interact with his teammate? How will he act if Behrman's suddenly faster than him? So those are things I think Haas are gonna have to be a little bit cautious of. But for Ocon, he's from France, 28 years of age. This is his 8th or 9th season, depending on how you count his 2016 debut. He has 156 starts in F1, 445 points, and his career best in the Drivers' Championship is 8th, and he's done that twice, once in 2017 and once in 2022. For Behrman, of course, this is his first full season in F1, but he did have 3 races last year, once subbing in for Carlos Sainz, and then twice for Magnussen, once for injury and once, illness, and once because of a race ban that Magnussen got after the Italian Grand Prix. So already has 3 starts in F1, 2 for Haas, 1 for Ferrari, and he of course already has 7 points in his F1 career, and that kind of helped him to finish 18th in the Drivers' Championship last year. So again, he's one of the few rookies, although I guess out of the 20-25 rookies, half of them have already had at least 1 start. So again, from that group, Behrman is one of the ones who already has made his F1 debut, and we've kind of had a chance to see what he could do. I thought he was quite impressive when he drove both for Ferrari and for Haas, and I do think he's a much better driver than his Formula 2 results, especially from this past year, suggest. So I'm really excited to see how he does. I think his qualifying pace looks really, really good already, given that he out-qualified Hulkenberg twice. The race pace, I think, will take a bit of time. It takes the time for all rookies. So again, that's something where I would still expect, Ocon to have the upper hand this year. Now, for my race model, race results are kind of interesting. So for the modified race score, 1.7 for Ocon, negative 0.15 for Behrman. And again, rookie season, so it is understandable there would be a pretty big disparity there. Again, this is midfield model, so it's based on a 100-point season as a constructor, and it's saying that Ocon will get 71% of the team's points, Behrman will get 28%, and points different 54.46 in Ocon's favor. So it's expecting this points battle to be a little bit closer than the Racing Bulls ones I talked about 2 days ago. And finishing position difference 1.93. Qualifying though, however, it is the qualifying model thinks that it's going to be a lot smaller, with the median qualifying delta 0.106 in Ocon's favor, which I think would be pretty reasonable for Behrman's first season in Formula 1. So let me know what you think. I think this is going to be one of the pretty intriguing teammate battle, and I think of all the teammate battles where you have one rookie, one experienced driver, I think this has potential, along with Sauber, to be one of the closest head-to-head. So I think it would be really, 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 really high praise for Behrman if, for example, he was able to best Ocon in his rookie season. For Ocon, I don't think it would be necessarily, it wouldn't, commit his F1 career to damnation or whatever. I know that's very weird phrasing, but I think for Ocon, he's been in F1 quite a while, and his results this past couple of seasons against Alpine against Gasly, I think while they were not great, I still think they were pretty good. So I do think that even if Behrman is better than him, I don't think it's the end of the world for him. I think it will just mean that Behrman's an excellent driver, and I think Ferrari will probably come calling once Hamilton decides to call it quits eventually, and I would expect that would come in 2 to 3 years. So again, that's another aspect to this that we have to think about. Behrman is a Ferrari young driver, so again, if Ferrari, of course, will be looking at him and seeing if they how they assess him, and how his progress, how he progresses through his rookie season, will be of great interest to Ferrari. So again, that's another thing to keep in mind. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's all for my preview of Haas's 2024 F1 season, and yeah, goodbye.